I'm Melissa Wu. I'm the CEO of Seeding Labs, and I'm really excited that you're here because we have an incredible discussion for you. And I want to set the stage by asking you, what's at stake? Right now, we're challenged by issues of global health. You're right here in front of our faces today. Climate change, economic inequities around the world. And after the past few years, I think we can all agree that we need strong science research. We need more scientists, and we need research and discovery to be thriving in every corner of the world so that we can find solutions to all of these challenges facing us. But the reality is, we're not there yet. 80% of us live in low and middle income countries, but 80% of funding directed towards research, directed towards finding solutions, is funneled towards just 10 countries in the world. And this is a massive disparity that cuts across borders, centuries of history, institutions in all sectors of society. And it impacts all of us, 8 billion people of us who want to be able to access science. And so, thinking about this scale, who's responsible for solving and changing this status quo? What institutions are responsible for making a difference on such a massive scale? The first thing that comes to my mind, I work in nonprofits, so I'm going to say nonprofits. Some of us, we're all, in countries that are run by governments that have the welfare of its citizens and its population as its mission. And so, maybe governments are supposed to be solving this. I'd love for you guys to add, additional thoughts. Is it NGOs, educational institutions, or corporations? And I think when I put it this way, I'm not surprised if corporations weren't the first thing that came to your mind. But the fact of the matter is, think about all of these institutions that I just named: nonprofits, governments, corporations. The first set of these are all institutions that we understand are responsible in some way for society's welfare. And today, I want you to come away with a new expectation that corporations have the same duty for social responsibility as any other kind of institution, right? They are an integral part of society, and they are responsible the same way any other institutions. Goal and mission is to be a part of our society and a part and responsible to the welfare of it. And I want you to come away with a new inspiration, how we can help corporations live this so that they become a part of changing something as big as, for example, global disparity in the development of science and technology. And of course, it's possible to do this. That's why we brought in all of these amazing speakers. At Seeding Labs, we're in the business of transforming the world, and we invest in scientific capacity in the least resourced countries so that every community can use science to solve their most pressing challenges. And we've worked with nearly 200 companies who have contributed to our mission. And among these companies, I'm so pleased to have Krystyna and Ryan today to share their journey evolving how their companies live in social responsibility. And partnerships with these companies like theirs have made it possible for Seeding Labs to strengthen R&D capacity in 100 universities across Africa, Asia, and Latin America. And so I want to thank Professor Aina Adeogun for sharing her experience of the impact of corporate engagement and the collective efforts and how it impacts science education and research in Nigeria. So with that, without further ado, I'm pleased to introduce our speakers today. Krystyna Hincman is joining us from Cell Signaling Technology, a family-owned manufacturer of scientific reagents. She's worked at Cell Signaling Technology for 18 years, and she began as a research scientist helping to develop award-winning antibodies that aid in disease and therapeutic discovery. Over the years, her focus has shifted to supporting the people, culture, and mission of the company, from living more sustainability to spearheading inclusivity. She loves to help others maximize her impact and share how CST has evolved sustainability and giving over the years. And next, we have Ryan Walker, who's joining us from Cytiva, a manufacturer of life sciences research equipment and one of the operating companies of Danaher. With the precision that reveals his past serving in the U.S. Marine Corps, Ryan Walker leads Cytiva's sustainability program as it delivers on increasingly challenging targets. He's worked in the life sciences industry for 17 years in roles ranging from commercial sales to channel leader, and since 2020 is devoted to the company's ambition to improve how it designs in sustainability in every aspect of the business. Ryan's a continuous learner, and while he's shy to admit success, he's particularly proud of helping scientists in developing nations get access to Cytiva's equipment. And engaging his associates in a program that crowdsources ideas to build out sustainable ways of doing business. And to close our talk, we have Professor Aina Adeogun, who's joining us from the University of Ibadan in Nigeria. Professor Adeogun's research focus is on environmental toxicology, a focus of hers for over 20 years. The majority of her career has been spent in Nigeria, with some time as a visiting scholar at the Norwegian University of Science and Technology. Her research accomplishments have been recognized by the MacArthur Foundation, Grand Challenges, and the Society of Toxicology, among others. But more than that, and this is something that I know from, from seeing Professor Adeogun in action personally, she is an incredible mentor for the next generation of scientists in Nigeria. And moderating the conversation today is myself and Rick Sherman at Seeding Labs. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the call, I want to just give you guys some Zoom tips. Again, please use the chat for any side discussion or comments that you'd like to make. For questions directed at the panelists, please use the Q&A button. We'll be moderating the questions and asking the questions that you pose after our discussion. And I also wanted to alert you that there is an option for you to turn on and off live captioning of the meeting today. All right, so I'm really excited to begin our discussion by spotlighting Ryan and Krystyna. All right. Got the spotlights on. So thank you guys so much for sharing your expertise. You guys have had a really interesting position and place of leadership in your companies over the very recent past. And I thought it'd be a good thing for us to kick off the discussion by talking a bit about what is CSR? What is the breadth of the work? How do you, as I said earlier, live social responsibility at your companies?
Great. I'll take this first, Ryan, if that's
sure.
Okay.
Absolutely, Chris.
Great. So it's so nice to be here. Thank you, Seeding Labs, for inviting us to this webinar. We are passionate at Cell Signaling Technology about our CSR and sustainability programs, and we love to inspire others to join in. So for us, corporate social responsibility is actually a large group of different topics, ranging from DE&I topics, engagement, philanthropy, sustainability, education, and communication with our communities. I think for this topic today, we're going to focus more on philanthropy and our sustainability efforts. We started our CSR program at Cell Signaling. Our company is just 22 years old now, and right from the beginning. Like you mentioned, Melissa, our company is a family-owned business, And the Combe family that owns our company, it's deeply rooted in their family about giving back to the community. So we have a couple pillars of areas that we like to focus on: inspiring the next generation of scientists through organizations like Seeding Labs, protecting the environment, and giving back to our community. So Ryan, how about you at Cytiva? What are your main focuses?
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris. And, having the opportunity to get to know Chris throughout this, I think is one of the great unifiers of sustainability, or CSR, right? Is the fact that we get to work across our industry. But I want to start as well by thanking Melissa, Rick, Seeding Labs for having us, because what an honor to be talking about such an important topic. And Melissa outlined so many of those reasons at the very outset. So Cytiva actually dates back to 1740, believe it or not. So we're almost 300 years old, but we're still a new company. Just in 2020, we were acquired by Danaher, and Cytiva was born. And as we looked at how do we really make an impact across society and the planet, and how do we do this for future generations to come, sustainability was one of our imperatives as a business. Our CEO made it that way, and as such has made it that way moving forward. Similar to Chris, we look at it in three areas. We look at it as people, or how do we have the maximum impact on society around us? And we do that through inclusion and diversity. We do that through advancing health and society. We do that about how do we give back, in addition to our mission statement of advancing and accelerating therapeutics. So we have that pillar focused on people. Our second pillar is focused on the planet or the environment. And we do that through four focus areas. We do that through a focus on reducing carbon emissions, having greater use of the water in our local areas. How do we rethink packaging to reduce waste? And then how do we evolve the use of plastics across our industry? And then lastly, we do all this by what we believe the third pillar should be for Cytiva, which is to build a strong and resilient foundation so that Cytiva is here for decades and decades and generations to come. And we look at that through responsible sourcing, through ethics and integrity, through product innovation. So we look at it, how do we make sure that we have a foundation that can help support both people and planet across the organization. So that's how we view it. We are still new to sustainability. We've been doing it for 2+ years, but I think we can all see, whether it's Chris and self-signaling technology that's been doing it for a while, or Cytiva that's newer, the great news is we're all on this journey together. So back to you, Melissa.
Awesome. So you guys said, you both actually started off with the beginning of the company, saying that this is something that's been part of the company since then. But you connected it to, we have pillars, we have a strategy. Can you talk a bit more about how does this strategy, how did this strategy develop, or why did it develop? Is it part of your business to be doing social responsibility, or to be thinking about it, all of the things that you guys think about in this way?
Yeah, it's such a great question. When you posed this, when we first started talking about this webinar, I really thought back to the beginning of our programming. And it's interesting because we are a privately held and smaller company. Our company is just reaching 600 employees globally right now. But I was employee number 113 back in 2004. And when we were thinking about giving back to our community, it was really on a more grassroots level. And we knew that it was the right thing to do. And we didn't talk about it much just because it was just the right thing to do. We didn't really think about how to communicate that, or if we had a good strategy. But as we've grown, and as our programs have grown, and as we've seen the value not only inside our company, that our employees participating in these programs and being part of the decision making, and our communities feeling the love from our company and understanding what we do for them, it's really been a wonderful way of transforming our program to make sure that we're making the biggest impact and narrowing down our focuses of interest so that we do make a bigger impact in our community. So some hard decisions are made along the way on, we are a science company, so we like to focus on where we can make the biggest impact by communicating what we do to our community and where we can make the biggest changes. So in that way, we do have strategy. And more recently, Cell Signaling Technology has become a member of an organization called 1% for the Planet, where we're making sure that we're donating 1% of our revenue to environmental nonprofits that are working together to make an impact on the planet. And now we're at the stage where we love to talk about our CSR programming because we want to inspire others to do the same.
Chris, if I'm not incorrect, please correct me, but I think you all are the first company across our entire industry to join 1% for the Planet, which is incredible.
Yeah, we're so proud. We're the first life science company to join 1% for the Planet. And we're hoping that others, maybe some of you on this call, will reach out and ask us about our journey and how you can participate in something like this, because it's really we think of it as an environmental tax, right? Biotechnology companies are huge users of energy and plastics, and we're incredibly aware of that, and we want to make sure we're doing our part to level out the playing field and protect the environment. Thanks for mentioning that, Ryan.
Absolutely. And then on the Cytiva side, I'll just dovetail off of Chris here. I'd say somewhat of a similar origin, and the development of the strategy. We very much believe that you have to build the organization or the company's culture that you want to be part of. And so, from our view, sustainability is not a top down. It is not a bottom up. It is every single one of us working together to do our part. And I sure don't know what number employee I was out of our 10,000 employees here at Cytiva, like Chris does. But, if we're going to be the change we want to see, which we all talk about, then we've got to be part of that. And that's how we view sustainability. That's why we call it designing in sustainability, because we view it very much that it cannot be a small subset of Cytiva or any organization that's going to move the needle across people and planet. It has to be every single person across your organization to do that. I'll even take it a step further and say that one of the, I think, incredible aspects of sustainability is the unifying nature of it, in that you work across customers, suppliers, and manufacturers, competitors even. It is, in my view, one of the great unifiers of our industry over the last decade, that and of course the COVID vaccine, as to how we can move things forward. And so we say it quite often here that the planet does not care whether you're a supplier and customer or competitors. We all want to see us win, and we either all win together or we all lose together, and we will feel those impacts. So much of what you said, Melissa, right, is riding on our companies and our generation doing the right thing. And so, like Chris and like Cell Signaling Technology, we don't view this as a brand booster. We believe this is the right thing for us to do. It is our obligation, and that's why it's a priority and an imperative within our business.
Thank you, guys. And Ryan, one of the things that I want to jump off of that you said, you talked about how things have been changing over the past 10 years. The concept of corporate social responsibility, it's been playing catch up, I think, since when corporations first started in the Industrial Revolution, and we had it led by, people who we might call robber barons today, to a place where, rather than being antagonist to society, you're really a part of it. That's been a really incredible evolution of how corporate view their relationship with society. So I wanted to hone in a bit on that, in that, you guys also talked about how you've made some recent changes. Ryan, you at Cytiva, you guys were born in 2020, so you had to start, somewhere. And Krystyna, you guys have been growing your program. It was a position that you really developed and led at Cell Signaling. And you guys have capped it today with joining 1% for the Planet. So, I'd love for you guys to help other companies understand, what does it take to make this um, make this really part of a company? How do you start, or who needs to get involved so that you can actually make this a success?
I can start with this one, Chris. I'll give you a chance to think about your response, and I'll take a start on this one. So, I think another beautiful part about sustainability is it's not too late. If you look at our industry, just a few years back, 2016, there was one company across our entire industry that had committed to the Paris Climate Agreements and the Science-Based Targets Initiative. You look 2 years ago, that was 19. Just last year, it more than doubled. So you're seeing an incredible growth and focus across our industry in this area of CSR and sustainability. And we cannot lose sight of the fact that our industry does amazing things across the biotherapeutic space, across the vaccine space. But how can we do more? And how do you build that program out? So as I said just before, in our view, it's not a top-down, it's not a bottom-up approach. The way we started it was we, of course, have an executive leader within our organization, and we did a materiality assessment. This materiality assessment helped us understand what the greatest impacts we can have to our stakeholders, where are the areas we can add the most value, and then the areas that impact Cytiva's business the most. So we did that materiality assessment to better understand where we needed to focus our efforts. As Chris said, right, there's so many different avenues you can take. How do you narrow down that focus? After we did the materiality assessment, then we worked on our strategy. What is our sustainability strategy, which ultimately became designing and sustainability. And so we built our strategy, once again, from looking at it across the entire organization. And then we worked on establishing our targets and our aspirations, both 2025 and 2030 targets and aspirations. So we looked at it from a three-pronged approach, but all with the underpinning that, once again, you will not be successful. We will not be successful if we don't engage and change our entire culture to think sustainably in everything we do. And so probably the biggest challenge, but also the biggest opportunity we have is how do we get 10,000 employees to just think with sustainability in their minds and in their roles and in their responsibilities and functions? How can they do something just slightly different than what they were doing before, still doing the same work, but either reducing waste or reducing inefficiencies to hopefully lead to a better people and a better planet? So jump in. It is not too late. And the beautiful part is we are all working on this across our entire industry together. Whether you're far along like Chris is or middle or behind, you can catch up for sure. Chris, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. I agree with Ryan. It is not a top-down or bottom-up approach. But what some of the things that, just for some of you that might be starting out in the CSR world, is that we started out with small employee groups interested in making a difference, right? And it was very much supported by leadership and by our owner. And a lot of people think, I believe a lot of people think that what CSR is financial commitment or giving for philanthropy. But we feel at CST that even individual action can make big changes. And so, we're doing things like incentivizing meatless meals in our cafeterias by making them free for our employees. We have EV charging stations in our parking lot, and we give big bonuses to folks that purchase EV charging cars. Even people in our community that don't work at CST are encouraged to come and charge at our locations because it's the right thing to do to encourage environmental awareness and responsibility. But what I love about what CST did is that we encouraged positive action along the way. So these small employee groups became more and more. We volunteer in our community. We do our philanthropy through our giving or our scholarships. We have corporate partners like Seeding Labs, who we love. We love to make sure that we're talking about the science that we do in our communities, and that over time became its own department. And there was a director before myself. And now not only do we have a director of CSR, myself, but we have a director of sustainability. That's how much our company is committing toward making positive change. So it's a work in progress all the time. We're always working on, we have, documents for all of our programs that are constantly being updated because we're learning new things all of the time. So it's not, I don't see it as a goal, but an ever-reaching opportunity to do more for our community and for our industry.
Thank you, guys. What I'm really hearing from this is, I'm kind of thinking on a metaphysical level, like what actually is a company? And it's all the people that are part of the company. And you guys are, making the point that if the company is socially responsible, how does that happen? You get every person who's part of that company to be a part of that. So, I love hearing how you guys have developed different ways for that. If we could, talk a little bit about, you shared how you guys got started, and the programs that you guys have been running have been working in different ways. I'd love if you guys could turn a little bit to how do you know you're being successful? What are you looking for to happen? This for you guys is actually, there's two sides of this question, right? Largely, how do you know you're being successful? But for people who are practitioners, who are taking a leadership role within their companies, how do they know that their efforts are successful?
So for us at CST, we measure success in a couple different ways. So of course, we want to reach out to those that we're giving to in a philanthropic way and make sure that our donation or our giving in that area was successful, and what could we do to help them be successful? So it's not them proving that they used the money wisely, but how we can work together as community members to make sure that the efforts and the goals for that funding is being used in the best possible way. But we also measure a lot of our success by how our employees are connected to the programs, right? So all of our CSR programs are 100% run by employees. So we have committees where employees serve a 2-year term. You're encouraged to join committees. It's actually, people fight to get on these committees because it's such a rewarding experience to read grant proposals about what these great NGOs are doing, or volunteer in our community and actually get out there and see what's happening and why it's important to volunteer. So we measure success too in our retention rate and our engagement rate of employees at CST. And we are measuring these things through volunteer hours or the commitment level that employees make to the organizations that we're supporting. Brian, how about you guys at Cytiva?
Yeah, I mean, a lot the same, Chris. I love, once again, seeing CST's grassroots efforts, because you said it, Chris, and of course, Melissa, you said it too. I cannot underscore enough from our perspective, if your employees or associates are not engaged or not involved at all levels, then it'll be a challenge to get any sort of sustainability or CSR program off the ground. We, working in Danaher's operating system, we very much follow the DBS mindset, the Danaher business mindset of make sure that we have very clear goals and targets and annual KPIs, and then we measure against those. So we have a lot of rigor around how we do that across all of the different areas within people, including inclusion and diversity, including advancing health and society, and then of course across the planet, all those environmental areas. So we track those very closely. But like Chris said, for CST, we also have ways in which we engage associates and keep the accountability there, in that we have several different committees. We have a steering committee, which is, as it sounds, is made up of global leaders across our organization that represent almost every function, from HR to IT to product management to commercial to you name it, right? And they are then the representative of that function to and from the organization within sustainability. And so it helps keep us accountable that are doing this full time, but it also helps us to have a voice to make sure that we're getting out there to the organization. We also have a site champion. site sustainability champion. And like Chris, these are volunteers that jump in and say, I want to be my representative for my site. And every site across our globe has one. And once again, they're the ones looking at how do we do things at our local areas and our local communities to make sure that we are doing things the right way and that we're building our program out. And then lastly, just newly, we've started a new committee that's called Design In Champions. And these are individuals that are looking at how do we work within our different business units to develop our products along the entire value chain, right? The circular economy, as you may hear it, is how do we start to develop products with the end in mind of how we keep them circular, which leads right into Seeding Labs, which I know we'll get into in a minute. But how do we make sure that we're doing more with the products we make? And so that committee is just kicked off. But like Chris said, if you are looking at how you're going to measure this, of course, have your quantitative measurements, both externally and internally, but make sure you're engaging associates across your entire organization.
Right. This has been a ton of information. And, I think there's so many different things that you guys are doing. And as we were having the conversation, before prepping for our meeting and today as well, it's evident that you're learning a lot from each other. And so for someone who's coming into this space and wants to know, how can I learn how to do what you guys do? Do you guys have suggestions for, for making sure you're doing, for how do you know how to do what you're doing?
Yeah, I love that. So again, for me, I started as the bench scientist, a research scientist at Cell Signaling for the majority of my career. And I moved into this space. So I needed some support, right, to make sure that I was doing things the right way. So not only do I reach out to other CSR leaders in my field, but I belong to the Boston College Center for Corporate Citizenship. And there are also lots of other great organizations where you can reach out for support. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. Right. And I don't necessarily take everything that I hear as gospel. We figure out what is going to work for us, but it's wonderful to hear from different companies what they're doing. Ryan has inspired us. We're definitely going to be looking at more of those kind of stakeholder meetings for each of our departments to make sure that we're all working together as a company. There's always some great new ideas that are happening out there, even in different industries that might spark a connection with what you're doing. So always be asking questions and reaching out. People in this field always want to give back. So never feel shy about reaching out. Hopefully you'll get our contact information at the end to reach out to us. Ryan?
Yeah, I just echo you, Chris. You don't get into CSR or sustainability because of any other reason other than this is a passion for you and because you want to give back. And so, as Chris said, wherever you fall in the value chain, manufacturer, supplier, customer, competitor, people want to help out. Like Chris, we belong to a couple of formal programs or formal groups that have helped really us broaden our scope of understanding across the industry. So Bioform, or BPOG as sometimes it's called, is one, Nimble is another. But really, as Chris said, just working alongside our customers, our suppliers, even our associates, our employees, helps us better understand where we need to go next. And as Chris said, right, you learn along the way. I will be the first one to point out I've made a ton of mistakes. But the beauty of sustainability is that overall people on the planet are very forgiving as long as we're all moving towards the right trajectory. And so jump in is what I would say, and lean on others across the industry, lean on the Chris's of the world, because you'll find that very rarely do you not get their support or not get their knowledge base. And to her point, you're going to capture something. You may not take everything. I'm not going to take everything that I've learned from CST, but I'm sure take a few things away that were like, you know what, this is something we should consider at Cytiva. So jump in.
Thank you guys so much. And, for all of you guys in the audience, I think I've definitely come away with, one of the goal that I had set out for all of you to look at corporations and look at that role in a new way, like how this is so holistic. This is the way things should be. And so I'd like to transition to the next part of our meeting, which is sharing what can happen when we actually have a world where companies are being socially responsible, engaging every person in their company. We've brought cell signaling technologies and Cytiva to this meeting, Chris and Ryan, because they have been really great partners for Seeding Labs in our mission of changing the world. We've connected with their people. They've shared their resources of equipment. They've shared resources of, all of their employee efforts. They've shared resources of donations to us. And so what's the best thing that can happen when you have companies looking at the world in this way? And so I'd really like to bring on Professor Aina Adeogun to share with all of you what it looks like for her working as a scientist in Nigeria and benefiting from the Instrumental Access Program, where we were able to, through the efforts of all of the companies working with us, support her institution, the University of Ibadan, with modern equipment to support their educational and research outcomes. All right, thanks so much, Aina.
Oh, thank you, Melissa, and good day to you, to everyone. I am Aina Adeogun of the Department of Zoology, University of Ibadan, Nigeria, one of the recipients of Seeding Labs Instrumental Access to Developing Countries. And I would like to share with you for a few minutes how donation of equipment by Seeding Lab has made impact on our science sustainability society in a developing country like Nigeria, and how better involvement from all of you can make more impact. For Africa, information about the status of the environment in terms of pollution is very scarce. And when you go through journal articles and all, you really get few information. 5 countries are actively involved in field-based studies where we look at the status of the environment, especially on chemicals that cause endocrine disruption in humans and other in fish, where my group is interested in, and other humans. One concern we have in recent times is that we have a huge migration of companies into Africa, especially in Nigeria and Kenya. And we have poor environmental laws, which means that we're going to have widespread pollution of the environment. And that is why we are interested in toxicological sciences in Nigeria. Through our studies, we have been able to look at environmental and food safety as a way of solving societal problems, so that we can provide information to protect our natural water sources like rivers and lakes and streams, and protect the vulnerable, women and children, because pollutants and parasites that cause malaria and other waterborne diseases is on the rise. And contamination from chemicals that are discharged into industry is also a thing of worry. My research group has focused on fish, because when you look at the endocrine system of fish and humans, there are a lot of similarities, and the end products, that the hormones that are generated from the endocrine systems, are similar. So through receptor-mediated pathways and non-receptor pathways, we're able to provide information on how polluted waters are affecting fish, and we can use this information as a guide to know how this is also affecting humans. Seeding Labs donated equipment to the University of Ibadan. University of Ibadan is the first university in Nigeria. It was established in 1948. And my department, the Department of Zoology, was also established in 1948, one of the early departments. In 2019, we got donation of equipment from Seeding Labs, and it has made a lot of impact into teaching and research in Nigeria. This single donation of equipment has changed the narrative for us as faculty and our students. We used to have a lot of problems with trying to explain scientific concept to our students because we do not have equipment to ensure that we could do this. And that became frustrating, especially for our graduate students. Here you can see a graduate student learning how to hold and use a micropipette. You will be amazed what a simple micropipette can do to change teaching and science in a country like Nigeria. We do have a lot of challenges to research and higher education, ranging from not having equipment, very little grants. The Nigerian society, just like every African society, has a large population of youths in universities and allied institutions, and only few can access grants for work overseas. For my department, for example, we first year students or freshman year students are almost 2,000 in my department. And if we have to show them pictures and all, it becomes frustrating for them. And being able to concentrate in class becomes a problem. With the donation from Seeding Labs of equipment in 2019, we have had improvements in teaching and learning and better outcomes for our students. And we are able to now do hands-on experimentation to complement theoretical concepts. And for most graduate studies is about 3 years program, but because of lack of equipment and other consumables, most of our graduate students spend between 5 to 7 years or more. And I'm going to give an example of a research that has direct bearing on the environment, especially in terms of genetic counseling. A colleague of mine started his PhD program on the incidence of Fragile X chromosome in 1993. Fragile X chromosome is a genetic condition. It causes the learning disabilities and cognitive impairment. And with the available data in developing countries, genetic counseling is available for people to know what the options are and what to do. This was a good idea, a very stellar research idea that he started in 1993. But because of equipment and all, he became frustrated and abandoned it in 1998. I am happy to tell you that with Seeding Labs donation in 2019, he's back in the lab and he's analyzing data again in 2021. That's a long stretch from when this started to now. What is the impact that Seeding Labs have had for us at Ibadan? Not only in Department of Zoology, University of Ibadan, but sister universities, about 3 higher institutions near us, are coming into our lab, our molecular lab, that was made possible by donation from Seeding Labs to carry out research. And this is helping to teach, to train more students and more faculty. We are organizing workshops and trainings for faculty and students. And for us, one major achievement for us in 2019 was that we had a full accreditation for our biological sciences courses by the Nigerian Universities Commission in 2019. And this was made possible when they came into our molecular biology lab and saw the equipment that was given to us and what we have been able to do with it. And preliminary results that we got through the equipment donated to us by Seeding Labs has made it possible for us to win a 9,500 grant from the National Grant Committee in Nigeria on microplastics in the Nigerian aquatic environment. We are at the analysis stage now, and we do hope that we will be able to provide good information on this to be able to help with what reducing, following the 3R principle, which is reduce, reuse, and recycle plastics in Nigeria. For us, the most impact that you can make for science and education by having greater commitment to CSR is to give back better. Because when we do this for our Science Sustainability Society, we will be able to provide information on a global scale that can help us to have concerted efforts to protect the environment. The recent COVID-19 pandemic has made it clear to us that we need collaboration from all continents to be able to solve the many problems that are facing us as a human race. And when we have donation and commitment through CSR, we can make greater impact because the grants will only reach a few people, but more like Krystyna mentioned, will reach more people. Experimentation is important because that's what drives innovation and drives industry. Climate change is a phenomenon that we are faced with now, and it's beginning to unravel. Temperate regions are becoming warmer, bringing with it tropical diseases. And if we have support through CSR, we can provide data from Africa to help mitigate or save the planet by giving experiences through science-driven data of how we have been able to overcome some of the diseases that are becoming obvious. Like I mentioned earlier, my colleague's work could not get funding because he had not produced data for funding. But a non-fundable research today may be what we need for the next industrial advancement. And I believe that for us to have a global science sustainability society, we all need to come together and do more so that from science we can go to innovation and we can do societal-based science, because societal-based science will give us, we are the chief tenant of nature, because humans are the chief tenants of nature. It's our responsibility to ensure that we not only have a society that will work for us, but for future generations. And the only way we can do this is to provide more support for developing countries like Nigeria and help companies like Seeding Labs to do more, because they've been doing a lot. We would want more, to do more so that we can provide the kind of information that can help us to save our world and make it habitable for generations to come. And for that, I would say together, we all can do this and make a safer world for every one of us. And from all of us at Ibadan, I would like to say thank you. Here you can see textbooks that was donated by Seeding Labs, and our students are in the library going through it in spite of the pandemic. So thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Aina, for sharing the work that you're doing and the incredible things that have happened. I'd love to open up our conversation to all of the guests. Hold on a sec. And I'd like to kick off the conversation with connecting our two conversations that we had. So you guys got to hear about two companies that are striving to be socially responsible. And you also got to hear about what can happen. We have improved education. We have research that is impacting the ecology of an entire country. Chris and Ryan, could you help us connect, the dots between the groundwork that you guys laid in creating your social responsibility mandate, and how did it connect to what we saw here with the outcomes for scientists like Aina?
Well, I think what I love most about this story and about our connection with Seeding Labs is that our program is built on relationship building. And that is exactly what Seeding Labs is doing with organizations and universities like Aina's in Nigeria. I think that the ability for us in our own small way to collect and donate equipment that we're not using in our laboratory, and be able to support this amazing work. Aina, that was such an amazing story. We're so proud of you and the work that you do. And we love that we can even be a small part of that story and that relationship building. I think that is just what makes it important for us.
Yeah, and I would echo Chris. Aina, that was incredible. And if anyone on this line listening in is not inspired by Aina's story, then we got to check everyone here, because that to me is one of the great reasons why Cytiva works and partners with Seeding Labs. So we've been doing it since 2016. You see the results. You see the impact you're having in some small ways. Chris said, we will never be naive to suggest that we are the reason for Aina's and the University of Ibadan's success. But if we can help in some small way, whether it be through the instrument access program, whether it be through telescience, whether it be through helping get the instrumentation shipments from A to B, you're having an impact across 37 different countries. What organization can do that outside of a global organization like Seeding Labs, who's having local impact in the local communities around the world? And so I echo Chris. The reason we work with Seeding Labs is because of the relationships. You get a very customized approach. You're never given the solution. We never give them the solution. It's about coming together to figure out what can we do together. I love what Aina said. Together we can do more. And I think that's very much the approach that Seeding Labs takes as well, is what can we do across our industry to give back more? We are all fortunate with the resources we have, and we can all do just a little bit more to make an impact across the globe. And I think Aina's lab is a perfect and beautiful example of that.
Well, thank you guys so much. I wanted to start to take a few questions. We have a few minutes left, so everybody, please do put questions in the Q&A if you have any. And I'll kick off a question for Ryan and Chris. What kinds of partnerships and activities do your employees find rewarding, and what do you think makes those kinds of opportunities attractive? If you could go on with answering that.
I'll start with that one very quickly, Chris, because I know we're running out of time. I think it's a mixture on the Cytiva side of local community giving back as well as global programs. So, but overall, I think what resonates most with our employees is where can we give back the most? Where can we as Cytiva have the greatest impact? And I know, once again, we're with Seeding Labs today, but Seeding Labs is a great example. What you do with them makes a real impact, and we can see tangible results from that, and our employees can see that. And so when you get the stories back on a regular basis through the newsletter, you see the impact you're having. I think that's what goes furthest with our employees. When they know that what they're doing, whether through volunteerism, corporate philanthropy, donations, et cetera, when their impact makes a difference, that's when we see the greatest results. Chris?
Yeah, I would agree. I think that hearing the stories about how our giving or how our philanthropy or how our efforts are being materialized, right? So seeing that there are solutions that are being created with the efforts. But I think too, for cell signaling employees, being part of it. So when you're creating your CSR program, if you can work on including as many voices as you can in the strategy and in the implementation of your programs, I think that that individual passion, that you can harness all of that energy in your organization and help move things forward. I think that that's wonderful.
One of the things that I've heard from a number of our partners, and I love, Aina, if you could add in to this, is that there's actually a cultural change that happens when you know that other people are sharing their efforts and being part of what you're doing. And Aina, I'd love you to add, has there been any any changes in knowing that companies around the world, people around the world are interested and engaged in what you guys are doing?
Yes, there's been a huge impact, really, and a lot of change because, like I said, our students, they are the ones that we really need to train with this, because some faculty have been overseas and all. And for me, what makes my day is my students come and say, can we have the practicals extend for another hour? Because now we have equipment, we can do this. And like I said, you'll be surprised at what a single micropipette can do. I showed some pictures earlier on. When they saw the micropipette, because we've been showing them pictures, we don't have one. The ones we had a long time ago were bad and we didn't have one. When they saw the micropipette and we had to teach them how to operate it, how to use it, For you, it's a regular thing. You can just have it in one corner of the lab. And they were working with the micropipettes. It took a long time for me to say, well, we have to stop now, because they were passing from one person to the other. Oh, so we can do this. We can measure in millimeters. We can do this joy of coming to lectures, coming to classes. And then, they are very good with social media, and they post pictures and they send to colleagues and say, well, what you're doing in Boston, I'm also doing in Nigeria. So it's a joy for me as a teacher to see that we're making greater impact with what we're getting from you. And that gives them hope, because now some of our students, I didn't share that, about 4 of our graduate students have been able to get grants for their postdoctoral thing. And the equipment came when they were about to round up, and they just had a portion of their research that was stalling. And during the lockdown, they were able to do something, and they were able to get some grants. They came and said, oh, Professor, we got a postdoctoral grant and we're good. Thank you very much. Thank you. And you notice the videos we send to you, we say, thank you, Seeding Labs, because it's really making a lot of impact. You'll be amazed. And maybe one of these days, when we can, as we continue to collaborate together, when you come down here, you'll be able to see the joy that it brings to classrooms, the renewed interest in our students. Like I said, we have thousands of students. You'll be surprised in one class when we have about 80 to 90 students in a class. And then you come in and say, today we are going to do hands-on experimentation. They don't want to go home, because this is what they've been wanting to see since high school. So they don't want to go home. They say, can we go on? Say, well, I have another class. I have to go now. And they go, oh, no. Can we do this next week? So we are going to have that next week. So it makes a lot of difference. And that's why we need more support. We need to work together more. We need more commitment so that we can do more, because we don't know where the next invention is going to come from. And it's going to come from this group. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I don't think that there's anything that we can add to the conversation. That was an amazing way to close. And really, I hope that, thank you guys all who have joined us today, who are joining us in the future on the recording, for being part of this discussion and really helping us see a new way forward for how we live and be in the world for each other. So thank you guys so much. And I hope that if you have any questions, that you'll connect with Seeding Labs. We'll be reaching out to all of the registrants for some follow-up and additional information if you would like. Thank you guys so much.